During the fall of the Soviet Union, there was a man who was losing his mind slowly in a psychotic mental break over the Communist Party falling. And that man killed about 55 children. This man was known as the Butcher of Rostov. Let's get into it. What's up, guys, and welcome back to Beyond the Void. My name is Alex, and today we're going to be doing a spoiler-free review and an unboxing of the limited special edition of Evilenko, which is the last name. They kind of make it look cool by saying Evilenko, but it's actually the last name of this butcher's name, played by Malcolm McDowell. That's right, he got to play a butcher in this movie. A movie I have never seen before and was sent by MVD and Unearth to check out and let you guys know about this movie because it's coming out on the 25th. And you might want to pick it up on 4K with the limited edition collector's 2-disc or just the regular Blu Ray collector's edition. I'll put links down below to everything down below, but first let's get into what I thought of the movie and then we'll get into all the extras that are on the discs. Let's get into it. So yeah, I'm a fan of Malcolm McDowell to a degree. There's some films that I've seen that there is no doubt you cannot give him a hats off for his work in any of these movies. But Evilenko is one of the ones that I never heard of. I think I remember the name, but I didn't watch it for some reason. And Evilenko is one of those movies that it's kind of like a serial killer movie. It doesn't go so far and so bad into the deepest, darkest parts of a serial killer's mind. Doesn't show you so much of the graphic stuff. I mean, after all, this is about a guy who killed 55 children. And yeah, that's not something you really want to see. There's a disgraced communist school teacher in Kiev who becomes a brutal, unfeeling serial killer. Got him on like 53 murders. They couldn't get him on the other 6 or so that he had done because they couldn't prove it, but he did murder quite a few children, murder them, and then eat them in this movie as well. This is by writer and director David Grieco, who was really good friends with Malcolm McDowell, so he hopped on board for this, but had also shot some footage of the trial and everything of the actual murderer, and then went into actually write an entire book that was a little bit fictionalized. They didn't use the same names of the killer, and they changed a few things in the story to kind of make it more of a novel and his own sort of telling. And they kind of do the same thing in this movie as well. They don't really follow every single step to the T of what the actual killer did. And Malcolm McDowell himself didn't even actually study the guy too deeply to come up with the character. Yeah, he watched some of the documentary footage that the director and writer had, but that's about it. He really wanted to kind of establish his own character in this, and boy, whoo, is this a creepy one. It has moments in the film where he is showing his prowess to children. A lot of people felt like he was sort of hypnotizing kids into this because of how frequent they were. I mean, most of his murders were done between the years 1987 and 1991 or 1990. And he was executed in 91. So if you can imagine 50 some kills in that frequency is pretty heavy. Now in this movie, he has a teacher's job. They show you how he loses his job there because he gets caught doing some nasty stuff with a child, which is probably one of the hardest things to sit through as a viewer. They never really show any children getting hurt. It's really not that bad. It is mainstreamed up a bit. There is one moment where, you know, a child's thrown on a table, but it's just the conversation that he's having with this kid that was probably the most unsettling. But they also just make you kind of sit through the dialogue that is just ripe with just disgusting. It makes you feel like you want to take a shower. Malcolm McDowell does the part pretty well. If he's going for creepy, this is like, you know, pretty fucking creepy. We're following a psychotic person who is having a schizophrenic break, and his brain has gone to justifying killing people just so that he can get off. I can't imagine this would be an easy film for somebody to do as an actor, because you have to go to an honest place. And Malcolm McDowell said that he didn't want to try to pretend to be this guy and learn too much about him, because he didn't want to try to be like him and be inauthentic. He wanted to be a version of this killer, of what he thought the killer would be like in his own mind, his own mannerisms and things like that. Although he did stick to a couple mannerisms the guy had in court and kind of integrated them into the movie. But man, I just cannot imagine saying the words that came out of this guy's mouth and the things that happened in this movie, which are just abhorrent. I know that Unearthed has a lot of films that really show you the goods, and you know, this is more of just kind of pushing the boundaries for some mainstream viewers' tastes. It's not going to show anything, but yeah, it's definitely not a comfortable vibe going on here. This is not the feel-good summer hit. But it also does star Martin Soskas, who's the sort of military magistrate, they call him, which is pretty much a police officer, to tell him to go out and investigate the murders and find this guy. And he's having a hell of a time trying to find him. But just the idea and concepts that what this guy does, that they kind of spell it out for you, is pretty unsettling in itself. And it makes for a very intense story in a lot of ways. It's really well shot too. Like, it's not done in some schlocky way. Like, they are artistic, well thought out shots, composition, color, everything's proportionate to, you know, the situation that's going on. There are some like really dark, poetically well shot and haunting moments in it. The score, speaking of haunting, is really pretty decent. Feels very familiar to something else, and I had heard somebody else say it reminded them of something, and I thought the same thing as I was watching it. The music was actually composed by Angelo Badalamenti, who is one of the composers that worked with David Lynch like quite often. Mulholland Drive, the Twin Peaks movie. He also did Lost Highway. So there's a lot of really dark, really good score work done on this movie. So it's no slouch. And if you like true crime, it's going to appeal to a certain group of people. I know that the subject matter is very abhorrent. It's gross and upsetting. Martin Soskas does a scene in this movie that is pretty wild. There's a lot of nudity in the film, not with kids, obviously. There is nudity with the adults and like a couple women. Martin Soskas, he actually went on to do a lot of different films too. Many big films like The Equalizer, The Amazing Spider-Man 2, Aeon Flux, and so much more. You know, this is around the tail end of that serial killer push where they had a lot of these serial killer movies that were still coming out. If you're a true crime fan, this is definitely a movie you're going to want to check out. The performances are fairly decent. I actually really like the balance between Malcolm McDowell and Martin Soskas, who plays the magistrate. I honestly, if it wasn't for Soskas in this film, this might have been a little bit too much. Both sides have some dark stuff going on that they either find out or do. It's not something I loved, but it is something that's well done and it needs some credit. In fact, I would probably give this film about a 7 out of 10. It could go to 7.5. I wasn't like completely overwhelmed with it, but I did appreciate what it was for what it did. Some of the moments were really strong. Some of them were a little too slow. Some of the moments were really creepy. You know, it is an unforgettable film. And even if you don't like the subject matter, I still urge people who are used to watching serial killer movies to at least check it out. Keep in mind, the movie's about 2 hours long, and it did feel like it ran on for a little too long. But yeah, there's going to be moments in this film that are going to definitely make you remember, like, I don't know if I want to watch this, but push through, watch it. It's got some value here, and I'm surprised I never watched it before. They spent about almost $10 million on this film, and it's an Italian film doing an American stylized film from Russia and Ukraine. Not a perfect mainstream movie, but definitely worth watching if you are a true crime fan. This movie is coming out on the 25th. You can pick up a copy on 4K and Blu Ray, or get just the Blu Ray version. I'll put a link down below for that if you want to wish list or buy it. I'm going to get into all the extras and what I thought of the 4K, the look, and all that other stuff. So if you're still interested about these kind of details, stick around. We're going to get into it now. So first up, we get the cover on here, which, you know, it looks it's like a really great cover. The cover underneath is no different, but you do get the slip cover if you get the early on. There is no reversible, but you do get 2 discs in the limited collector's edition here. Obviously the ultra high def version, which is the 4K, and the Blu Ray, which has the same thing on it, only with a lot more extras. And we're going to go over those extras now. First up, the thoughts on the 4K transfer. This is a brand new transfer from Unearth. They've done a really great job on this. It looks a lot better than the Blu Ray. I did test out a particular scene because I thought that the red in this train scene, which is a crazy scene in the movie, looked really poppin', and I kind of did some comparisons to it. It looks pretty close though, so if you weren't like a 4K fan, you could probably get away with it, but it really does look very crisp in 4K if you love the image quality. Now, like I said, this is a 4K restoration from the original camera negative that Unearth did, and it's presented in its original 1:85:1 aspect ratio with HDR, so those blacks really pop in some of the dark scenes. It's a good looking picture, even if some of the stuff on it is kind of freaky, you know. We also have a new commentary on this that has the writer and director and also Malcolm McDowell sitting down to talk about it. I didn't get a chance to check that out, but it is a new one from 2024, so it's brand new commentary. On the second disc, which is the Blu Ray, you get the feature, the commentary, and a bunch of extra stuff that was included on a previous disc isn't in HD, but it still looks really good, and it's a really nice, you know, to have all this like extra featurettes that is with literally everybody in the cast. And it even has sort of like a documentary that the director did called Evilenko Dossier Andre Chikatilo. It's a look at the real life basis for the character of Evilenko, which is the rename. Cast, crew, featurettes, like literally from everybody in the movie, just about, like, I think, you know, two main actors in the movie, and you also have like Angelo Badalamenti, who did the score in it, so you can watch, you know, why he did the score like this, and just a ton of different extras in here. And they even include a 2021 interview with the two of them, the director and Malcolm, who sat down to have an interview, and that's kind of new if you didn't get the old release. And they also have a photo gallery and original trailer. So limited collector's edition on 4K and Blu-ray, or the collector's edition on Blu-ray. But I'd like to thank Unearthed Films and MVD Entertainment for bringing me new material to check out. They always challenge me with stuff that I've never seen before, and I really appreciate it, because it's like I really want to just open up and like know more and more stuff and see it, and they always have something that's different than I never see. And so I hope you guys appreciate that. Thank both of them if you can in the comment section down below. I would love to hear what you guys think. Did you even know about this like real life story of this guy in the Ukraine and back in the Soviet Union days? Or is this all new to you? Did you ever know about this film? Are you a serial killer fan? Would you watch something like this? And are you going to pick it up? I would love to hear all of that down in the comment section down below. I really appreciate your support. We got some new material coming out. I know I've been kind of slacking this week, but we do have a new sort of dark comedy that has Bill Murray in it. I'm a big Bill Murray fan. I even named my dog Bill Murray, so we're going to do that on the channel here too, so that'll be something different. And we have some other new stuff coming out too that we're going to be talking about. So keep your eyes peeled. Thanks for coming by. And as always, long live the void.
Beyond